Happy new comic book day eve, comic book fans. Of course, you are tuned in to Fanlight Zone Presents New Comic Book Day Kickoff. And this is for the week of January 21st, 2026. Of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. I am also the executive producer over at fanlightzone.com. I'm excited to be here. And, let's not waste any time. We need to get into some business real quick first. First and foremost, make sure you head on over to fanlightzone.com, where on Wednesday, new comic book day, 9 a.m., all of our reviews drop. So you're going to want to go check out all the great reviews, including the books we'll be talking about today. Of course, make sure you're following us on all of the wonderful social media platforms. You can find all of those links at fanlightzone.com as well. And because you're watching this already on YouTube, make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and hit that thumbs up to let the bosses know you want more content on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. And, like I said, we have a pretty big week. It is new comic book day for January 21st, 2026. There is quite a bit of a lineup, but I need to get the ground rules out of the way for how this show works. Of course, this is the official pull list of fanlightzone.com. That means that the writers and reviewers over at fanlightzone.com get together. We decide what books we are recommending for you to pick up at the store, including the final four that we give out here are the individual pick of the week of each member of our team, our 4-member team. So with that being said, I want to lay the ground rules that this is in no particular order. This is not saying one book is better than another. This is not to judge anything or put anything in a negative light. This is just the thoughts and opinions of the Fanlight Zone team. So if you do not see your book listed here on this list, please go ahead and write in the comments what books you recommend. We always want to have those conversations. Maybe it's something that's not on my radar. I'm a huge comic book fan and I want to read everything just like you. So maybe you'll see some things that you aren't familiar with, and maybe you can point out some things we aren't familiar with. Once again, it is no slight to any creator or any fan what we do not add to the list. This is just our list. And like I said, it is in no particular order. We're not going to give out, one thing is better than the other just because it's the first one up, or even with the final four with our pick of the weeks. That's just saying that's what we like best this week and something you should check out. So remember, with that also being said, to keep it nice and above board and classy in the comments. Don't put down somebody else for their choices. Don't put down us for our choices. Once again, everybody's opinion is valid because, once again, art is subjective and we want to know your opinions because this is a great way to get not only us, but other people in the comments who might be commenting on reading some books that you also enjoy. So make sure you are always doing that. And then last but not least, have some fun with this and enjoy. That's the ground rules. They're out of the way. Let's start it up. And the first book I'm going to start with this week on the pull list is Exquisite Corpses, number 9. Tyler Boss is writing this issue with Valentin de Landro on the art. Tiny Onion Image Comics has the publishing on this. And oh man, if you have not been reading Exquisite Corpses, you should definitely be reading Exquisite Corpses. It has been one of the best series out there, even won a Fanlight Award this year in the very first year. Let's be honest, it's one of my favorites out and about. Where do you start? You have 13 killers, 13 families. They're vying for control of basically the shadow government, the real power that runs the country. And as we're coming down, this is issue 9 out of 13 for the first season. We're getting down to the wire. We've got, most of the killers have already been taken out. And now it's, can the townsfolk, the people we've been following, survive the night somehow? And now it's kind of like getting weirder because the families are now kind of, edging it out. We're starting to see who the power structure could be, but there could be a wrinkle. There may be a loophole that brings somebody back into the game that we aren't expecting. So we're keeping our eyes on it here. It's been a great series. This is one you definitely want to pick up. If you have not been reading it, this is a great issue to pick up. And of course, the trade paperback for volume 1 is already out, as well as, you can get ready for the second volume to launch as soon as the series is over. So you're going to want to check this out. If it's not on your pull list, it definitely should be. Next up is another great book that I think is picking up more steam because I've seen it making the award rounds and is part of the reason why Dennis Camp won Writer of the Year here at the Fanlights. And of course, that is Assorted Crisis Events #8. Writer is Dennis Camp. The art is done by Eric Zawadski. This is from Image Comics. And let's just say, if you haven't been reading this, it's another one. What have you been waiting for? Dive in. Assorted Crisis Events is a anthology book, but it is not an anthology book where there's multiple stories per issue. It is one story per issue, and there's usually some overall kind of I liken it to like a modern and more messed up monkey's paw way of an Aesop fable, because there's always some kind of message here. This is no different. This issue is about a man who is a comic book artist of all things, and basically has made some choices in his life that have come back to bite him in his ass as he's in the gutter, quote unquote. And it's kind of like dealing with, you know, his family life and how he got to where he is. And it's also an unconventional art because they're kind of showing you a peek behind the curtain. It's not done in the normal panel fashion. The art is kind of all over the place, which is really cool. So it's a really cool concept. Once again, they're really pushing the limits between Dennis Camp and Eric Zawadski over there doing Assorted Crisis Events. They've been doing such a great job of pushing it. If you're not reading it, it's another one that I suggest grabbing, because you can grab any issue. Grab this issue at the shop this week at the LCS. You're not going to regret it. If you like it, add it to your pull list, because it's always a really good book every month when it drops. Moving right along, next up on the list is Redcoat #16, written by Jeff Johns, art by Brian Hitch and Andrew Curry. This is from Ghost Machine Image Comics. And if you didn't know, last week, the Unnamed Universe made an appearance, as Geiger was on our list last week. Redcoat on the list this week. And this book is fantastic. I love Redcoat. It's one of my favorite books out there. I love history books that are based in real history, but of course, alternate history, like, you know, fictional history. This is one of them. Just bringing you up to speed. If you've never read it before, Simon Pure is an immortal. He was a redcoat officer in the British, you know, army, and then he stumbled upon a dark ritual hosted by the founding fathers, including George Washington, and somehow he ended up immortal. Also, out of the founding fathers, Benedict Arnold is also immortal, and Benedict Arnold is coming back. Benedict Arnold has been trying to take over the United States and rid it. He actually used a plan with Simon Pure. Well, not with Simon Pure. Simon Pure was not, you know, but Simon Pure got saved by a young Albert Einstein. Now Albert Einstein is back to help Simon, as the reemergence of Benedict Arnold from his watery grave in New York Harbor is now back to wreak havoc, or so they thought, because there's a little bit of an interesting thing going into the end of this issue. Really good stuff here. Jeff Johns is doing some really great stuff, and the art is fantastic. Brian Hitch really hit a home run. This is a book you should be keeping your eye on. I would say, once again, this is another good jumping on point. If you haven't read Redcoat, this is the one that you can pick up at the LCS. Dive right in. They give you the backstory, so you don't have to worry about reading everything. And then also it gives you what's moving forward. And once again, if you like it, this is a pull list, definite book, in my opinion. Next on the list, though, is a book that I also like, and it's another anthology book, and it is Terabytes #4. This issue is written by Mark Lendon with art by Val Halverson. Mad Cave Studios is the publisher on this, and Terabytes is also, it's kind of like Assorted Crisis Events in the way that each issue is an anthology, but each issue is a different story, although there is an overbearing of it's basically a robot investigative crew going out and investigating the civilization that was, and that civilization was our civilization, or kind of like a version of our civilization. And as they go to these different places, there's different beacons and stuff where they can pick up stories. In this issue, the story that they pick up is of kind of, I'm going to say, a Mr. Beast-esque YouTuber who has gone to, you know, he's kind of a jerk, but he's well loved and people are going all over things. But he turns to AI, in an AI form of himself, to kind of lighten his workload, because he can trust that workload, I guess. And yeah, it ends up biting him right in the butt. And yeah, you get to see kind of like a little interesting thing here. Really good book, really interesting. Like I said, every issue seems to take off in a different ways, and they have a little bit of a message, but also more of like once again, that monkey's paw kind of story. I really do suggest Terabytes. I look forward to it every month. Once again, because it's an anthology, it's easy to just grab a copy at the LCS. And if you enjoy it, go ahead and continue to read it. No harm, no foul there. Let's move on right along. And I think this is the last of the independent books before we move into the big two. And it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Nexus #3. This issue was scripted by Sophie Campbell with art by Vitor Kafegi. IDW Publishing on the publisher. And if you haven't been reading this event, this miniseries event, Battle Nexus, oh, you should. It's a bi-weekly coming out until the event ends, and it is some really cool stuff as they're taking our turtles from our dimension, and they are going up against turtles like friends and foes from the other dimensions in this tournament, all because the Battle Master wants to get some sort of revenge on the turtles that has not been quite revealed completely why yet. But I'm assuming that that'll be part of the bigger episode. This one has a really cool fight between Raphael and his ex-girlfriend Alapex. That is your big battle for this one. But there's also some the things that they're doing with this book, giving some backstory to the other characters in the beginning of the issue. Well, then getting into the action is like it's a good way to not have to take a whole issue to do flashbacks and build up backstory. I think that that's ingenious and it's working out super well for this book. And on top of that, the cool fight scenes and the cool ways they come up with it. This fight ends in a cool way. They set up next issue's fight with Donatello going to be our turtle. I'm not going to ruin who he's fighting, but yeah, it's some really cool stuff. If you are not reading the TMNT line, period, coming from IDW Publishing, is one of the best franchises out there. But Battle Nexus, as this mini event, is stupendous. Go out, grab a copy of this at the LCS. See if you can grab the first 2 issues if they have them still, and then add it to the pull list because you are going to want to be a part of this. This is a great event going on right now in the world of turtles and in the world of comics in general. So go make sure you check this out ASAP, I would say. Let's get into the big two, and I only have one here until later. A little teaser for the top picks from DC Comics, and that, of course, is DC Comics DCKO Green Lantern Galactic Slam #1. Jeremy Adams writing, Pat Boughton and Cien Tormey on the art. Yeah, DC Comics is hitting the home run with DCKO, and this is another one of those spin-off series. Basically, Ken M has said it, and I'm just going to say what he said because he sends me the notes for this, and he said, Jeremy Adams writing this. Enough said. Green Lantern has been really cool in the DC KO series. These spin-off series have been really good, and KO as a whole has been just fantastic. And like I said, I got to go with the editor-in-chief on this one. Jeremy Adams writing, I'm reading. So check it out. That's enough said, enough sold on that. Let's move over to Marvel. And Marvel's got a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot. They've got 3 #1s this week. One of them will come up a little later, but I'm going to highlight the thing that's not a number, or well, actually, we're going to highlight the first #1 right here. Sorry. It's going to be Rogue #1, Erica Schultz on the writing, Luigi Zagria on the art. Marvel Comics, of course, is Into the Shadows of Tomorrow series for the X-Men, and we're getting a lot of relaunches, including this one with Rogue #1. And this is kind of like a little over of it. You can't outrun the past. Rogue has an idyllic life with her sweet Remy, but there are still skeletons in her closet, ones that come out when she least expects it. Rogue has worked so hard to leave her villainous past behind. Unfortunately, the past doesn't stay in the past. What happens when it slams you right in the face? What past sin would make Rogue leave Haven House? Do Mystique and Destiny hold the answers? This is going to be an interesting, once again, this is one of those times where we're going to have a very interesting storyline. I know Cyclops just went up for FOC. There's a lot of these. We're going to be talking about a couple other #1s in the X-Men universe as part of our poll list here. But I'm super intrigued. It's a really good book, and I think that if you are an X-Men fan or a Rogue fan, you're definitely going to want to check this out. But a comic fan in general, you might even want to give this a shout because they're doing some really cool stuff in the world of X-Men coming into this new, basically overall storyline that's going to reshape once again the X-Men world. Next up, speaking of X-Men world and a new, and it is Inglorious X-Force #1, Tim Seeley writing, Michael St. Maria on the art, Marvel Comics Publishing, obviously. Shadows of Tomorrow all over this, like we said before. Reading about a little bit about Inglorious X-Force #1. It's Inglorious Vengeance. Cable returns from the future with a handful of clues and gaping holes in his memory. An assassination is at hand, and it's up to Helverine, Archangel, and his former teammate, Boom Boom, to follow Cable's lead into the fire. But who are they after? And what secret does Cable's faulty Memory Hide. And once again, this is fun. I've always been an X-Force fan. It's got a great team: Archangel, Helverine, Cable, Boom Boom. It's kind of a great team. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good, like humorful, like because X Force has always had a kind of like a humorful one, but a lot of great action. Because let's be honest, that's what you're into for that. We have one more number one, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Before we get to that, there's one more book from Marvel that I'm really looking forward to this week, and I've loved this series so far. And that, of course, is Spider-Man and Wolverine #9, written by Mark Guggenheim, art by Gerardo Sandoval and Victor Naiva. Marvel is really doing a big number on some of these crossover books where we're getting some team ups, and Spider-Man and Wolverine has been no different. These last three, this is the third of this mini arc going on inside of it, and you have Arachnix. Sorry, I said that backwards. Arachnix is a mixture, is in this other dimension that they get pulled into to try to save this world's Reed Richards. It's interesting. They end up meeting this Arachnix villain who is basically he has the best powers of Wolverine and the best powers of Spider-Man, and it's kind of crazy. And there's this whole villain Avengers that they have that they call the Revengers. It's a really interesting book. It's a lot of fun. You're getting classic quips from Spider-Man, very smart, Alecky, and all that. But then you have the more comedic side of Wolverine, although badass still, and they're taking on fights. And Arachnix is a great villain. I think it's cool to see a villain that's made up of Spider-Man and Wolverine. I mean, it was really dope. So check this out. If you have not been reading the series, go back into some issues. But this would be a great time to jump on and check it out at least. And of course, keep your eyes on it, whether you get it on digital or at the LCS. Well, that has taken us to the end of the first part of the pull list. Now we're going to end out strong, as we always do, with the team's pick of the week. So each one of these next ones will be a pick from a different member of the FanlightZone.com review team. Once again, all of these books that we cover here, including these picks of the weeks, will be featured either in video and or in written form on FanlightZone.com, 9 a.m., New Comic Book Day, Wednesday. So make sure you're checking them out. And let's get right into it. First up is going to be Joey's pick from the So Wizard podcast. He does the video reviews here, so make sure you're on the socials. And he has got the other number one from Marvel coming out this week. And of course, that is Psylocke Ninja #1, written by Tim Seeley, art by Nico Leone. And listen, this is a heck of a book. Tim Seeley making the list twice this week, 2 big #1s, as a matter of fact. But if we're talking about Psylocke Ninja #1, this is what you have in store for you as Betsy Braddock, mutant X-Men ninja, flashback to a time when Psylocke was reborn into the ultimate killing machine. What sacrifice did Betsy make to save the X-Men? Why did the Hand choose Psylocke to be their weapon? And what does it have to do with their former assassin, Elektra? Writer Tim Seeley and artist Nico Leone answer these questions in a lost story from the X-Men's past. Super good opening book here. Nice little side mission. You're going to really enjoy it. If you enjoy ninja fighting, kung fu kind of books with that hard edge and a lot of action, Psylocke Ninja #1 is a book for you. And that's Joey's pick of the week. Now we're going to move on to my good friend Padawan J, aka Josh's pick of the week. And no surprise to people who know him, his pick of the week is Gargoyles Darkwing Duck #1. Greg Weisman writing, Tad Stones and Ciro Congolese are on the art. It is brought to you by Dynamite Entertainment. And listen, if you love those old afternoon cartoons, the Disney ones, Gargoyle, Darkwing Duck, this is the crossover you've been waiting for. As a matter of fact, after contacting a weary Morgana Macabre through her magic mirror, the scheming Demona whisks the uncooperative sorceress out of St. Canard and into her New York City lair, where she proceeds to grill Morgana for the location of a certain mystical tome with enough eldritch energy to allow Demona to finally conquer the world. Darkwing Duck, of course, isn't about to take this lying down. As soon as he learns about Morgana's abduction, DW and his stalwart sidekick Launchpad McQuack, are in the air racing towards the Big Apple to rescue his avian amour. But will the terror that flaps in the night be able to handle the city that never sleeps, not to mention the Stone Guardians who pour protect it. Interesting, of course, here, storyline. Once again, if you are like me, grew up in the age of watching all those wonderful Disney shows, whether it was Chippendales Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, uh, you know, Gargoyles, you're going to enjoy this. Greg Weisman's been doing such a great work in the Gargoyles world, amongst other great books that he's written. But yeah, you're going to want to check this out for sure. This is definitely one for nostalgia purposes. And trust me, it's not just for kids. You're going to have a great time. Dynamite's doing a good job with the IPs that they have over there. Let's move on to the editor-in-chief's pick of the week. And that, of course, is Wonder Woman number 29, Stephanie Williams on the writing, Jeffrey Spokes, brought to you by DC Comics. This is a little mini series that they're doing where Stephanie Williams, you might know her from Street Sharks, is over here doing a few books of writing, and Jeffrey Spokes also doing some guest artwork on the book. It is amazing. This is one of those really, really good arcs. You're getting to take a peek inside of the Amazonians, and you see we're going to have some really cool stuff go down. I would, if once again, perfect jump on point, perfect time to jump in and read. Wonder Woman has been so good, but now with the added bit of having somebody who is coming in, it is a perfect time to check out this mini series. So make sure you grab this at the LCS this week, as it is the editor-in-chief Ken M's pick of the week. And that finally brings you to my pick of the week. And my pick of the week this week is a book that I've been reviewing the whole series, loving the whole series, and it's unfortunately, although in a great way, coming to an end, as my pick of the week is Everything Dead and Dying, number 5. Tate Bromble is the writer. Jacob Phillips is the artist. Tiny Onion Image Comics is your publishers. And oh man, Everything Dead and Dying has been such a great series. This is the finale to the series. And it's basically what happens in the zombie apocalypse when a man who has gone through life never knowing what true love is loses his true loves, but he keeps the town alive. This town that he is a love-hate relationship, he keeps it alive. And even though they're zombies, he keeps them on a schedule. He's feeding them, and they are actually behaving. But then when outsiders come in who just hate the zombies, they start killing them off, and they've invaded here, including his family. And what will he do? This is a dramatic ending. We had the invaders. We saw what happened. You know, his daughter was disappearing, and this book is it ties up all the loose ends, including everything our main character is going through. You're gonna really want to check this one out. It's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of emotion. It is horror at the end of the day, so there is some blood, there is some gore, but it's very tasteful. Once again, this is such a great book. If you have not been reading Everything Dead and Dying, you jump on, maybe not jump on the last issue. The trade paperback is going to hit in a couple months. You're going to want to pick that up. If you have been following along, oh boy, your wait is over. Issue 5 is everything we thought it would be, and it is one of my favorite books of the week. It is my pick of the week as much, and I've had some great books this week. I do believe 15 reviews for myself between written and video. So that should tell you something, that this was my favorite of the week, and with so many other great ones out there, including ones I talked about earlier. But make sure, if you haven't been reading it, I don't know if I'd spoil the end. If you can get the other 4 issues at the LCS, grab all 5 issues and read them and enjoy. If you can't, this is one you might have to wait till trade paperback. But for those of us who have been keeping our eye on it and been reading in this the whole time, we can rejoice, because this is pretty epic. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's New Comic Book Day Kickoff. Once again, make sure you head over to fanlightzone.com at 9 a.m. tomorrow, New Comic Book Day, January 21st of 2026, as all of our written reviews will be live on the site. And then make sure you're following us on all of the social medias, as our video reviews drop every hour starting at 9:30 and until we're done with them. And of course, you're going to want to make sure, since you're already here at the YouTube channel, to smash the subscribe button, hit that bell icon for notifications, and hit the like button so you can get more comic book action, including New Comic Book Day Kickoff, which comes to you every Tuesday, early evening, I should say, here on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel, as we are pushing forward and celebrating one of the greatest days of the week, New Comic Book Day. And of course, nobody does New Comic Book Day like fanlightzone.com. So with that being said, for myself, Rich, until you get to that LCS and grab some of those great books, or until you stop at fanlightzone.com and read all the reviews to find out what books you should pick up, and hopefully this video here helped out, drop in the comments books I should be reading as well, because I want to hear from you. For myself and for the rest of the Fanlight team, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, enjoy New Comic Book Day, comic book fans.